Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/FBIA podcast. Over 150,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. For the listeners of the FBIA podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a 30-day free trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. Find some of our favorites. Writing the Apocalypse by Eric Alexander, 1984 by George Orwell, The Beginner Boston's Dictionary by Marcus Albee, Plagueland by S.D. Sykes, and No End Save Victory by David Kaiser. Books from all genres and walks of life right into your ears. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/FBIA podcast. Again, that's audibletrial.com/FBIA podcast. Or go to the FBIApodcast.com webpage and click the link at the bottom of the page. You don't need a holiday to show someone you care. 1-800-Flowers.com marches on all year round. Send clovers for St. Patrick's Day, red, white, and blue roses for Liberty Week, or maybe even some in replacement for Hug a Newsman Day. Get 15% off your purchase when you go to the FBIApodcast.com webpage and click our 1-800-Flowers.com coupon link at the bottom of the page. Or go to 1-800-Flowers.com and enter the code FBIAPodcast. Again, that's FBIApodcast.com and click the link at the bottom of the page, or go to 1-800-Flowers.com and enter the code FBIAPodcast.
Shut up and sit down.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Football is America with Ron and Kyle. And Mike.
What up?
Every time.
It's going to be funny every time, too. Every single time. How is everybody today? We doing good?
In the middle of a 3-day weekend. I can't get much better.
I'm good-ish. Yeah.
What's wrong, Kyle?
That I have to go to work tomorrow, and I even had to go to work a little bit today.
Bummer.
You're sitting there with a 3-day weekend, but on the plus side, I mean, my work's not going to be all that difficult.
Oh, got that going for you, so that's nice.
Well, first of all, everybody, welcome back, Mike, one more time.
Thank you.
This is the last time we're going to introduce him as a new cast member. He is now a full-fledged cast member. So, but the news, Twitter. I wanted to reach out on Twitter.
Oh, this is going to be so great.
To the New England Patriots, because after we did the year in review show, a lot of people were like, hey, I listened to your guys' show, and how come the Patriots don't follow you? You guys should, you should tweet them and see what they say. And I was like, okay, sure, yeah, I'll do that. Because what's it gonna hurt? They're gonna be like, shut up, we hate you. And
really, that's what you were going for when you did it. You wanted to know if they were not following us on purpose due to reasons, valid reasons, but still
right. So I tweet, at New England Patriots, I said, 31 teams following us, that's all of them except for one, at New England Patriots, WTF. And I'm like, well, that's probably going to be just ignored, whatever. Well, get on the Twitter today, and yes, I call it the Twitter because I'm old, and I don't call it Twitter because I just don't. And
you still haven't given me the Twitter password.
I have on multiple occasions, actually.
That is not true.
Okay. Get on there today, and I see a retweet from us. It just says, at FBI podcast. Oh, we didn't realize it. And then like that, it was just like kind of a couple of jarbled, things, but there was no following. They didn't actually follow us or anything. They're like, thanks for letting us know. And I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. At some point, somebody retweeted either them or somebody else, because I really don't, to be honest, understand exactly how the whole tweeting versus retweeting versus favoriting works. And what ended up happening was somebody retweeted my post at the New England Patriots, and it somehow led back to at Tom Brady.
Oh, no.
And at first I was like, what? This isn't real. Because at Tom Brady retweets at FBI podcast. Hilarious. And I thought to myself, I can't wait to tell Kyle this, because I know what's going to happen. He's going to be so angry.
Yeah.
That Tom Brady is cool with all of the horrible things that he says about him.
Mm-hmm.
It's so great. It's like the first time as a kid that you taste Lucky Charms. It's just amazing.
I just love that we have this, Kyle. Before you unleash it, I love that we've got this weird 14-year-old girl Twitter drama going on with like actual NFL stars and NFL teams. Like, and then she retweeted this, and he told us that, and he said this behind this the in the lunchroom. Like that's what we sound like. We're actually talking about legitimate NFL athletes right now.
To be fair,
tweeting us and causing drama.
You probably missed that on the time earlier in the year, when the Bears were getting close to hiring John Fox. I said I didn't believe it because it hadn't been tweeted by the Bears, and then I was very sad for where society had, gone to where I don't believe news regarding the NFL until the team tweets it. So there's that. And then also, like, I'm really hoping that this Tom Brady saying it's hilarious is like a guest, like a parody account or like
a fan account of some sort.
Yeah, something, because that would really not be good in my mind if Tom Brady's like, oh, this guy is great. No, why couldn't he just be a total dick about it and confirm every horrible thought that I have in my head? No, like the worst thing that could possibly happen to me in my life is Tom Brady being nice to me. Like that is Pompeii all over again, just bodies covered in ash and staying like that until time is over. Like I can't handle that. It would just be the worst thing in my. I'd end up like just hobo fighting constantly because I wouldn't know how to rationalize what to do with that part of my life. And I can only imagine Tom Brady. Hey guys, check out this show, and I just have to constantly say terrible things. I want to be a guest on the show. Like, God damn it, Tom Brady. No, you cannot. Tom Brady. Hey, Kyle, I heard you hated Matt Damon, so I cut off his face. Like, well, okay, that one I will say thank you for, Tom Brady. But
dude, you hate Matt Damon too? That's awesome.
Well, okay, Matt Damon is, I said before, Jason Bourne, good, Elysium, easily the most offensive movie for anyone who's ever been in the military.
All right.
And I cannot handle Tom Brady with no, it's got to be a joke account. Like, that's the only, even if it's not, that's where I'm putting my mind right now.
Maybe he's just really good at taking a joke.
Like right now, I'm like the guy who comes home from vacation and his home is burned down, and he just keeps lying to himself and saying it was the neighbors.
Well, hey, let's take this opportunity real quick, because I'm gonna try to do a little internet sleuth work to see if this is a real account or not. Like in the middle of the show, let's
production assistance. Excellent.
Ron, what's our Twitter? Twitter.com/
we are at FBI Podcast, and I just Googled at Tom Brady, and at Tom Brady on Twitter is, because he didn't retweet it, he favorited the post, which means it doesn't necessarily appear on our account. It's just it just comes up as a notification that we were favorited, and it says that at Tom Brady has only 2,520 followers. And so I'm guessing it's a fan account. I never did the work. I just really wanted to annoy Kyle. That was pretty much it. I mean, the whole thing was just
good. To be fair, with social media, Tom Brady is a fairly clever guy. I really wasn't a big fan of the whole editing the photo to have him writing the old timey Colt symbol. That was right around when I had been at a period where my rage had subsided. I'm like, it is. He does his thing, we do our thing. It's fine. And then he did that, and I'm just like, okay, we've got to get this guy. Like, Bin Laden's been taken care of. This is the next on the list, And to be fair, it was funny. And then all the other stuff. Tom Brady's a funny guy, so yeah, joke account, whatever. I really cannot have Tom Brady be nice to me. That would be the worst. That would be just terrible. I can't have that.
The Holocaust 2.
Oh, the NFL won't like that, but yeah, pretty much.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, they're gonna make me edit out that. I'm just gonna probably kill that when we're at it. When I'm at editing.
Yeah, there are certain things that at no time are funny, and that's one of them.
That was the only time I ever got edited, was when I said that.
Yeah, I have been World War II joke free for the most part. Well, actually, no, that's not true. I make numerous references to Fat Man and Little Boy and all that, because, I mean, that part, that was an act of war. That wasn't a war crime. Moving on.
So, Kyle, let's get into the news you have for us, because this is big news.
Well, it's big news. As everybody knows, I choose not to do any work for the show. It is a lifestyle choice. Some dudes like dudes. I like not doing things. Freaky, same. So, all right. So, I decided what would happen if I actually did work for the show. And my goal was to get some guest hosts on. Because when we put it out, hey, people call in. I'm like, nobody's going to call in. Nobody. None of you are. We know you're not. We're going to put the info out there and you're going to sit there and do nothing with it. So that's fine. I don't blame you because I'm just going to berate you and tell you your question's dumb and hope that you die in a river or whatever. But
jeez,
still,
come on.
Anyway, I have reached out to SB Nation, which is a website that has all kinds of great sports information. They have pages for each of the 32 NFL teams, whole bunch of hockey, basketball, pretty much everything sports you can think of. Reached out to SB Nation and have gotten some commitment so far for people to appear on our show. Sander from Bucks Nation, we'll just say that because I don't want to irritate him by mispronouncing the last name, will represent the SB Nation Bucks site, which is bucksnation.com. And Jimmy Morris of Music City Miracle will be representing the Buccaneers and the Titans. We are going to have them on for our review show. We're going to be asking them some questions. And as they are editors of pages that get a whole lot of hits, they're going to be a very accurate representation of what the average fan of this team is thinking. You know, was the season successful? How happy are you about the outcome? You can kind of maybe guess how it's going to go for teams that only manage 2 wins, but if it keeps up, we'll be getting 100% participation is the goal. I'm pretty sure there's going to be one team who's going to listen to us and be like, no way, no at all to no to no. And I am okay with that. But yeah, it is the one time I do work, I actually get us real guests and all that. So hooray for me.
Hooray for you.
And that's the worst part for Ron is when I actually do work, I do really well.
It's true. And that's what bugs me the most. It's like you could actually do a ton of great things for the show. And you're just like, that's...
Oh, well, I mean, think about my life. Like, how mad are my parents? Just constantly like, why? All this potential, why? I'm like, I don't know. Doritos are delicious. And I'm going to sit here on this comfy couch with Doritos and a brew. And there's cartoons on. And let me tell you, one of the best parts about having a 4-year-old is it is okay for me to watch cartoons.
In excess.
I love cartoons. I watch them all day. I don't care.
You can lead a honey badger to water, but you can't make him give
yeah. So yeah, there you go. When I actually have to get work done, it happens pretty well.
We can't wait to get these guys on. It's going to be like our first official, like actual credible guest, and it's going to be great. I can't wait for it. I'm very excited. I know that Kyle and Mike are very excited for it too, and it's going to be I'm
definitely
cool...
excited. Again, check out these web pages if you are a Tampa Bay fan, bucksnation.com, for Titan fan, musiccitymiracle.com. The SB Nation model is really easy to understand. Great layout. They have fan posts. They have official posts. Really cool. Still waiting to hear back on the Raiders and Jags, but we're a couple weeks out from recording that show anyway. So, you know, we're ahead of the curve. Got a response back from the Colts guy in about 2 minutes.
Yeah,
apparently,
it. Nice.
I am not surprised.
Yeah, we'll just harass every team as the week approaches in hopes that we can get somebody. I mean, if not, we'll just do it on our own, and it's going to be. It's still going to be good. It's just we really like to have that outside influence of voice in that specific capacity, I guess.
That'll add a new dynamic. I think that'll be interesting to have.
And just their point of view will be good. I think so.
I mean, for us, largely how this came about in my head was the key thing to look back every season is, was it a success? Sometimes you have a losing record, but a successful season. And the Oakland Raiders were my example of that. They had 3 wins, but they shouldn't have had 1. And so to me, that was a successful year, but I don't know if the fans feel that way or if other teams would feel that way, and I don't think they should. So I figure let's get some people in here who are, if you're a fan enough to run a web page for your team, then I want to hear your opinion.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Right.
So we got some people who are willing to do it. Everybody who we've gotten an email back from has been very positive. So thanks again. We'll be really happy to have these guys on. They will provide some great analysis and input, and that saves our listeners from having to do anything because you're on the couch with your Doritos. I understand.
Let's hope everyone gets into it.
So that's enough of that. Big special thanks to my unofficial advisor, Marcel Brazilian.
All right.
That's not his real last name, but he'll enjoy. Ron, what's in the news? Tell me the news, or whoever's doing.
Mike is going to be our moderator. That's a little bit of a format change for us.
I don't know. Somebody say words.
I was literally about to say, how about we get into some news, and then you kind of stepped over me onto asking Ron what's up with the news. That's all right though. I'm crying on the inside.
Mike's capacity is going to be to kind of be our moderator. He's going to be one that kind of moves the show as best as he can, because Kyle and I tend to get a little long sometimes. So his job is to try and keep us under the hour that the NFL so much desires.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm the right guy for that job either, because I can just sit here and listen to you guys yap, and it's hilarious. So let's do our best here. Y'all want to talk news?
Yes, let's go.
All right. Well, we got Peyton Manning allegedly returning. Like, he's talking about he's all right to ready to come in and play. Went out and had his evaluations and whatever done. I'm not even going to touch Mackie Shilstone?
Yes.
I guess he's been looked over and says he's good.
I think he should have retired after his Super Bowl year. I mean, I've said that on multiple occasions. I know Kyle kind of feels like we're really doubtful on what he could actually bring to the table this year.
Yeah, I'm not some kind of an old timer, but I remember being like in the early years in high school and people talking about Peyton Manning should retire. If he's on the roster for March 9th, he'll be looking at a $19 million cap. Like, that'd keep me coming back.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I said, the last show, is that he's fit, he's in good enough condition to make that money. That's what he's there to do. He's there to make that money. He will continue to do so despite all of the endorsements he has and everything. He's there to make that money, and he will continue to do so.
And even at like 80% or 60%, you're still getting a better quarterback with Peyton Manning than the majority of quarterbacks out there.
Well,
there's a definite, question to be asked. How injured was he? And how much did that affect his game? And a lot of people, Peyton Manning's been covered for many, many years now. So people know his game. And multiple sources have said, I've looked over his year. After I believe it was Chargers game, you could tell he was injured. The ball didn't have the zip. He didn't move around, and he doesn't move around anyway, but it was even worse than normal. And so there's maybe some belief that, there was a legitimate injury, and that's what affected the play last year. He started out the year well enough. I think if he can truly be mostly healthy and get it done, he should, but he ended the year pretty poorly. And I think the big thing is right now he's getting to a point where Denver fans are starting to get a little irritated. There was so much hope, and now, you can't end the year booing your quarterback at home in the playoffs. And that is what happened. And that is not okay. So, I wish him the best, but, they got a lot of people to sign. They got Julius Thomas, Demaryius Thomas. They have some work to be done. And, as we said before, Peyton's probably the reason John Fox is gone.
Yeah, that's when they came out and said it's Super Bowl or bust. And Peyton has to shoulder a lot of that responsibility for that entire staff. And the other thing that I kind of read today, and I know this isn't written in here, Mike, but one thing I read was that will he want to come back to an offense that he's never played? Will he want to come back to a situation where he is going to not be the one in charge of all that? Because, to be honest, for the last 15 years at least, maybe not his first few years, but his last 15 years, the offense has been his offense. He has ran the same kind of offense, the same style. He's pretty much the offensive coordinator. He has gotten offensive coordinators, head coaching jobs for years. And he is going to be coming into Denver in a situation where Gary Kubiak is going to be running the offense because Gary Kubiak is an offensive-minded person. Does he want to come and play in somebody else's offense that is just a slight variation of his, not his own?
And this really is, it's not just Peyton against Kubiak. Kubiak is going to have the support of John Elway. This was John Elway's handpicked coach, and you have to believe that even though Peyton was the guy John Elway brought in, John's already looking years down the road. Like maybe one, because that's probably all Peyton's got left in him, unfortunately. You don't hire Kubiak with the idea, oh, he'll get us to the Super Bowl and that's all we need him for, him and Peyton Manning, and then we'll figure it out later. He is going to support Kubiak before he supports Peyton, I think, right now. He might smooth the debate over or whatever, but he needs Kubiak to be happy. And so Peyton, he's going to have to learn the Kubiak offense, which does have a great emphasis on running game, and that might just be what Peyton needs, is to have some of the pressure taken off of him.
Could work. Do you think they'd keep him if he agreed to that reduced rate the same way that Tom Brady did?
Peyton Manning won't agree to a reduced rate. That's
He
not
wouldn't.
who he is. That's not what he does.
I don't think he would either. I think they're going to try. I wouldn't doubt that they won't try. Or wait, did I say that right? Anyway, I wouldn't doubt that they are. I would suspect that they would try to get him to kind of bring that cap number down a little bit. And I mean, 19 million. They even with his 19 million, they still have 26 million in cap room with his 19 million dollars. So they still have plenty of room to re-sign basically the people that they really want to re-sign. It's just the way that the Patriots kind of handle the Tom Brady situation, to me, is the smartest way team-wise, but obviously not the smartest way player-wise. And Peyton, let's be honest, always looks out for number one.
I will give Tom Brady all the credit in the world for this. He gets it that he's made his money. And beyond that, his wife makes more money than him annually. We hear it all the time. And Tom Brady is smart enough to say, you know what will be greater for my legacy than saying I had the highest contract at this time is how many rings are on my hand when I hang up the pads. And Tom Brady takes a reduced rate. It seems like every year he signs a new contract that, like, just less and less money. Eventually, he's going to be paying them. And, I mean, that's why he just won another Super Bowl. And that's why Peyton Manning constantly is dealing with issues where you say, well, the rest of his team isn't good. And while that's true, if it really mattered to Peyton, he'd just double down on those Papa commercials and tell the team, you know what, I only need $2 million this year. Spend the rest on free agents. I want a ring.
We need to cut up the one nice thing that Keil's ever said about Tom Brady, like that little bit right there, and then send that to that Tom Brady account, and then trick the Patriots into following us based off the guy's clearly nice about us, and they come in like brain tumors.
I was over the weekend told by Ron that I absolutely could not go onto a crowdsourced t-shirt funding whatever website and create a shirt for the show because all of my designs had cats cancer.
Horrible pictures. Like just the most absurdly offensive pictures ever.
Well,
like,
it wouldn't be so bad except you go onto the webpage and it's like, we raised however many thousand for this cancer awareness. And I'm like, you know what? We need to raise double that. So on slide 1, cancer awareness. Slide 2, give this dude cancer.
Do you still have the t-shirt designs?
Of course I do. I'm not a psychopath.
Ron, would you be totally opposed to just putting them on some kind of a media for our people to see?
Let's put it on the webpage. Let's put it on the webpage and let the fans decide.
And people can look at it, like no commitment to a t-shirt one way or the other. We'll just put it up so people will see it, because I bet that is very interesting.
You guys are ganging up on me right now. This is ridiculous.
I think I'm speaking very rationally. I think
make it a one or the other. Either this is funny or Keil should burn in hell for all eternity. And if more people think I should burn in hell, then I guess we don't do it.
Do you guys want to talk Jim Harbaugh?
Yeah, let's do that.
I do.
Sounds like they're getting out of a bad breakup. Like them and the 49ers, they broke up, and I guess it just wasn't the most mutual of of decisions. He thinks they really quit on him,
Yeah, they could quit him, unlike other gay cowboy references.
Oh,
That was
damn.
that was torture. That was bad.
To me, this whole thing is funny because the 49ers are clearly like just blatantly wrong in this one. Like it's so ridiculously obvious that they're like, well, yeah, we don't want the coach that took us to 3 consecutive NFC championship games. Why would we want to do that? We don't want a coach that took us to a Super Bowl, a 49-22 record.
Why would you want the coach who won more games in 4 years than the franchise had won in the previous 8? You know, and that's why him putting this out isn't a shock, because it was very obvious that the GM, Trent Baalke, kind of has everybody out there convinced that he is the reason for the team's success. And also keep in mind, this is the guy who, like, his daughter was the one tweeting, oh, we need to fire all these people, putting it on Twitter after the loss to the Seahawks. And then there's that tongue-in-cheek apology and all that. That's kind of weird that the family is that ballsy about it. I don't know. Jim Harbaugh is a fantastic coach, and they acted like he was cancer. I don't get it.
In my opinion, the Seahawks already have that Division 1 next. Well, not necessarily. I guess the Cardinals will give them a run for their money with Bruce Arians there coaching them. But, I mean, the 49ers are now out of it. I don't believe that they're going to have any shot at winning. That's just my personal opinion right now. Now, that could change, but depending on what I see, and how they draft and what they do offseason-wise. But the whole thing is just a mess, and the 49ers have a lot of egg on their face.
The only 2 mistakes I could kind of see being attributed to Harbaugh in his coaching tenure, the only like glaring failures, are giving Alex Smith the big contract extension after being unable to sign Peyton Manning in free agency, and then giving full control to Colin Kaepernick. That did not work out the way that he thought it would. But for a little while there, it looked like the smartest decision in the world, for each of those decisions. And if you think that Jim Tomsula or Tonsils or whatever his name is, the guy, if you think he can do better being
Jimmy
promoted
T.
from defensive line coach to head coach, this is a dude that wears a jacket without a t-shirt underneath.
What a jerk.
Well, okay, it's one thing to do that. It's another thing to like have it zipped halfway down. So like your big, like greasy Polish dude from the 1970s chest hair is hanging out. Like, it's not the image that says, hey, take your billion-dollar business and put me in charge. That more just says, like, I hope you guys got a lot of extra Crisco, because we're going to be cooking up some regrets.
Well, it looks like he never considered any other offer except for Michigan. That's why he took a job at, as I understand, that's his alma mater, where he played quarterback, right?
Yeah, that is correct.
And he got offered like a ridiculous amount of money for it.
Yeah,
I believe
$8 million.
it was 6 years, $48 million. I think.
Yeah,
I think it was 6 years.
Yeah, that's a lot of money for a college coach. Way more than anybody's ever made, that's for sure.
How do you think he's going to do out there?
Excellent. When he was at Stanford, he was excellent there. I mean, Keil can tell you all about that, because that's kind of, by default, that's kind of the team that he loves to watch. So,
Well, I mean, kind of, sort of, not really, but this is a guy who I understand maybe isn't the right guy for the NFL, because he can be abrasive and the players get irritated. In college, you only got to deal with him for a couple of years. Yes, coach, no coach, whatever you say, coach. Get out there, look good, play good, get drafted high.
right.
Commissioner Goodell, he made $35 million in 2013, and I guess Art Shell had a lot to say about that.
Well, he said that the commissioner's total compensation in 2013 is a fair reflection of his leadership and contributions during the year. And I laughed. And the reason I wanted to talk about this was when you look at 2013 as compared to this past year, which we don't know what he got paid so far for 2014. We think about the year that they dealt with in 2013, which was a lot of fan backlash and a lot of player backlash. But then you go to the opposite side of 2014, where they're getting now a lot of backlash because of legal stuff, domestic violence, all those kind of things. I'm interested to see what he's going to get paid for 2014, because the owners keep paying him, for the most part, more and more and more and more and more. because 2012 he made 44 million. He made 35 million in 2013, so that was the first time it went down. And his first year as the commissioner, he only made $4 million. So that, I mean, and that was 2007. So from 2007 to 2012, he went from $4 million to $44 million.
I just find it kind of interesting that we get a year delay, you know, in finding out. If they only just now paid him, like, here's your 2014 money, here you go, buddy. Why are we only just now finding out about 2013? And this is kind of more of the same with the NFL. Like, hey, we'll announce this stuff so far after the fact, you don't care. I don't like it.
Right.
The wool over the eyes theory. That's how they constantly play this. And it all starts at that head office.
It all starts at the guy getting paid $35 million for his work in 2013. Won't even give me a
exactly.
measly
That's what I'm saying.
$5 million for world domination.
Or an Arnold Palmer, for
all
that
I
matter.
want is to go ahead and set up a really nice RF tower somewhere in... Tom Brady lives in Boston, right? I just want to set up one RF tower to provide excellent cell phone coverage.
Oh, good God.
But then you come into that whole Tony Montana,
all right.
Can you handle doing that to the kids thing? And I don't know if I could. And Scarface is not a very good movie because I am not on cocaine.
All I know is that if I were an evil dictator looking to take over the world, like, my only plan is I want to live in a house that looks exactly like my head.
Interesting.
Like, that's all I want.
Taking over the world just sounds like a crap ton of work.
That's why I know you'll never do it.
No, I don't want to take over the world. Just somebody say, look, here's your couch and your lifetime supply of Doritos. We'll check in 6 months, see how you're doing. Okay, perfect. Check that block.
Do you guys want to talk about something else?
Yeah, pretty much.
Please.
Well, good else in the news, also with Robert Kraft and their conflict of interest regarding the new chief medical advisor for the NFL. And of course, there's going to be drama all over that again.
Well, there shouldn't be, but since it's Goodell making the decision, there kind of is an expectation now that he can't do anything. He just can't do anything without us questioning it now. It's very sad.
Well, the reason we have to question is because he's constantly... It's a Kraft and Goodell together all the time issue. Like, this is a doctor who is a personal friend, I would say, of Robert Kraft. She at least comes from his holding company, which is the Kraft Group. So she knows Robert Kraft, and essentially the only way you can look at that is he got her the job. And not only that, she's not even a brain specialist. She's a cardiologist. So great. She can mend Josh Gordon's broken heart when he's told that he has to sit at home and not be allowed to smoke weed anymore. But she's not going to save anybody's head when they get just domed from Ray Rice in an elevator.
Ooh, yes. Very good reference.
No.
When you're the chief medical advisor in this capacity, the way we read it is when the NFL says, hey, we got to run this by our people, run this by our doctor, they run it by her. So I'm confused as to what their best case scenario is, because if I'm the NFLPA, I say, oh, this lady doesn't know crap about head injuries. Time for a lawsuit. Because when the NFL goes to their chief medical advisor, she'll be like, I don't know, man. Let me look at their heart. And be like, it's not even close to the same. And then failure. But
right. It becomes a thing where she's like, oh, well, I've got a guy. Let me go talk to the guy. Then everyone's going to go like, well, why isn't that guy our guy?
Exactly.
Like, why isn't our guy a brain specialist? And then people got to be like, well, it's because she got hooked up with the job, which, I mean, I get it. I've received employment before over people who were way more qualified than me just because I knew the right person and I wasn't necessarily the right guy for that job. We're talking like construction, something like trivial. Like, I've
not
never been
chief medical advisor for a multi-billion-dollar franchise.
So I'm kind of torn. Like, I mean, she got a hookup, but at the same time, it's like the NFL's kind of maybe screwing themselves on this one a little bit.
Well, if nothing else, Roger Goodell is, because we're now at a point where even a decision that you could say, well, there's nothing to read into, we're reading into it because his track record is not good. I'd go so far as to say it is poor.
The problem is that nobody trusts him. I mean, obviously, that's the issue. The trust is broken there. So whenever he makes any kind of decision, everybody always questions and says, what is the benefit of either him or somebody he knows? That is what the first thing everybody thinks. What is he doing to benefit himself? It's not him? Okay, so who does it benefit? Because nobody could just think that this is to better the NFL anymore, given his track record.
I'm starting to think that South Park is right, and Roger Goodell is just a robot, and it turns out that Robert Kraft has the majority of the passwords. That's probably what's happening. Seems logical.
the real man behind the curtain.
He is the great and powerful Oz here.
In other news, we got the NFL submits motions to get the evidence in the Greg Hardy case in order to determine if he violated the personal conduct policy. And I guess the real question here is like, well, he wasn't really convicted. Can we call that a conduct policy when clearly we have evidence that says that he was guilty if not charged?
Well, the real question is it a double jeopardy issue? I mean, he's already been tried. He was convicted. He appealed. He won. And now they're basically going to say, okay, well, we don't like the fact that you won your case, and so now we're going to come back after you. Do I think that he's guilty? Absolutely. He knocked the crap out of her. I don't think that that's anybody has any issue with me saying that, or anybody saying that for that matter. But should they be allowed to get involved in legal evidence or base decisions solely on convictions or the lack thereof by saying, okay, well, we're going to take a stand and do it this way because we didn't really like how the legal system processed it? Is it their right? Yes, under the NFLPA. Should it be right? I don't think so.
This is a kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. We all know how much attention Ray Rice got last year. I mean, you just made a joke 3 minutes ago about it. So the way that was handled was the definition of not successful. It was just the textbook example of everything going wrong. So they're getting maybe a second chance here. Domestic violence, bad times, not a good scenario. And for them to get all the evidence and maybe use this as a chance to set a standard, knowing what fan opinion is at this point. Like you said, legally it shouldn't be right, but they're not putting him in jail. They're imposing a work-related punishment. They could fire him and just say, we don't like you. You suck. Get out. They might have to pay him at that point, but...
Do you think they'd go that far? If it came down to that, like, we find you, in violation of the personal conduct policy, do you think they'd actually fire him or just slap him around with some fines? Because I feel like, yeah, you're right. After this whole Ray Rice thing, they have to do something to save face.
For one thing, he's probably going to be a free agent by March 10th because his cap hit is $13.1 million. And that is way too much for a guy that the fans are probably not going to be happy to see it back out on the field.
And will be suspended for probably 6 games. So
even then, who's going to pick him up? Ray Rice is still waiting. So this might be one of those things where the NFL will impose their 2 to 8 to 10 to 12 to whatever their suspension, but then the rest of the teams are going to stay away and just not want to deal with a problem child.
So you think he might just be done?
No, I don't think he's going to be done. I think somebody's going to get him. There's always a place for somebody that gets in trouble like this, no matter what. There's always going to be somebody.
If you're talented.
Yeah, if you're talented, like I don't think Ray Rice is going to go this year without being on a football team. I just don't think it's going to happen. We judge certain things based on overall crowd reaction, and I'm not minimizing what he did or what Ray Rice did, but you think that Michael Vick spent a lot of time in jail, came back out, he still got a job. You figure Ricky Williams got busted how many times with marijuana, and he was still able to come back into the league after he initially retired the first time. I mean, we've seen a lot of different types of stories, and everything is unique. I mean, you can compare the Greg Hardy thing to the Ray Rice thing, but you really can't because Greg Hardy has appealed and has won in a court of law. Ray Rice at that time, it just exploded so quickly that nothing had actually even been to the courts yet. It was all just public reaction, and that's unfortunate for the NFL. They had a really big issue to deal with very quickly, and they dealt with it very poorly. So now what they're going to do is they're going to overcompensate on everything they do from this point forward. That's always going to happen. So no matter how you look at it, these guys that have any sort of domestic violence or sexual assault or anything are going to be hammered. Now rightfully so. I completely believe that in my opinion, anybody that commits some kind of violent act like that shouldn't be allowed to play in the NFL at all. But the fact remains that should you be allowed to impose more judgment on somebody that has already been judged? That's my question.
Yes.
All right.
Always.
I love it. I guess let's move on to the Rams have announced that they're sticking with Sam Bradford. How do you feel about that?
Well, Kyle feels more about it than I do.
Well, he's due, what, 12 something million this year?
12.7.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, he can't stay healthy. He had 1 year where he was looking like, wow, this guy might be pretty good if he can just stay on the field. But he can't. And so, like, talent is great, but you also have to have familiarity and chemistry and all the things that are a product of going through day-to-day training with the people working that offense with you. And he's not getting it. He's getting a lot of time with that clipboard, but he's not doing the walkthroughs. He's not timing his throws with his receivers. So I had heard through the rumor mill and all that yeah, there's teams who are willing to trade for him. I'd say if you can get a 4th round pick for him, take it, because there was no way of knowing he'd be quite this injured. And
if you can't stay healthy, you serve no purpose. And that's a very cold way of looking at it. And that's unfortunate, but that's the reality of it. If I'm an owner or a head coach of a football team and I have all the talent in the world, but I can't do anything with it because that person is either A, bad mentally, or B, bad physically, then there's nothing that you can really do with that, i.e. Jay Cutler. So all you can really do at that moment is just say, all right, well, I'm cutting my losses. But unfortunately, people can just they just cling to that tiny little bit of talent to say there's so much we could do with this if we could just get it to work. Well, there's a whole lot I can do with a magic marker, but guess what? I'm no Picasso, okay? It's just not going to work.
Beautiful.
Very concise.
I like that a lot. Looks like the Jets they actually dumped Chris Johnson.
Shocker.
Yeah, he had that one great year. 2,000 yards is amazing. But you got to be a team player, and you can't throw your teammates under the bus constantly. And you got to be good more often. He's okay, leaning towards good, but he's an absolute butthole to deal with. So, not surprising.
Do you think that's going to be too hard for him to pick up another, like, rather get picked up somewhere else?
Oh, no, he'll get picked up somewhere else. He'll be a backup somewhere. He'll be a rotational back somewhere. I'll probably, if I had to pick a couple of teams, I would say that he might end up going to either the Colts, the Chargers, the Broncos. There's a lot of places he could go where he could be a good rotational back. I mean, there more teams than not are doing kind of the running back by committee anymore, and there's a lot of teams out there that could use his abilities at a discounted price because that's what they're going to get him at.
Absolutely. Hey, I'll take this one. Colts dump safety LaRon Landry. And
woo!
Yeah, that is a collective sigh of relief from Colts fans. It is like every Colts fan page I go to, ridiculously positive in terms of how happy people are that he is gone. This kind of solidifies safety as one of the biggest positions of need for the Colts now, because they, like, pretty much everybody they have is a free agent. So there is some legitimate concern right now, but LaRon Landry, suspended for PED use, couldn't really stay healthy enough to be super effective, lost his starting job after coming back from suspension and didn't gain it back for 5 weeks. And even then, he was not a team player. You know, sports writers around Indiana said he never acted like he was happy to be in Indy. He never acted like he wanted to be part of a team. And, you know, when you're not producing, if you're not a advantage in the locker room, you're gone. Ron, why don't you take this next one? You're all up on this, yeah?
You just
The reason I was hesitating, I don't know if right now is the right time to officially declare my fandom, or if I should wait until we actually have the representative on next week. What do you think, Ron?
go ahead. You can do it now.
All right. My whole thing with sports and football is I'm like, you have to have your team, right? If you're going to be into sports, you have to have your team. And I talk to people like, why is you into that team? Like, oh, I came up around it. That was my dad's team. Or, oh, this is my city. I wrote for my city. I'm like, I can't do it that way because people move. These cities move teams and stuff. I'm like, what could be my team? And I got reading about it. I used to be a professional pirate, like name a Renaissance fair or a pirate fair in California. I've worked it. That was my thing for like 2 years. And now I'm on a football podcast I have no earthly business being a part of. Like, it's all... it's hilarious. Like, I think my life is a Seinfeld episode. And so I get looking around, like, okay, well, which team's clearly going to be representative of me? Well, the Buccaneers, obviously. And then I get reading about them, like, oh, it turns out they're actually a pretty sad team all around. But then a friend of mine tells me, like, dude, they've got a pirate ship in their stadium that they fire every time they make a touchdown. I'm like, that's it. That's my team.
Well, yeah, because when you're only firing it like 4 times a year, it's not a big deal.
Yes, thank you.
I'm not mad. And yes, me and Ron had many. Yes, we had many a joke about that on Facebook. Hardy Har. My team is the team that has the pirate ship. Like that's who I'm rooting for. And so
I like how it has nothing to do with the players or the culture or any number of things. Like, hey, you got the coolest looking toys at your house. I'm going over to your house, new best friend.
So, Ron, lay this on me. Is this good news? The Buccaneers have dumped Josh McCown? McCown?
Yes and no. Here's he was their starting quarterback, but he didn't really play last year. He was hurt for most of the year, and why they went with him over Mike Glennon in the first place is beyond me, because Mike Glennon was clearly the better quarterback, despite the fact that his neck reaches to the clouds. So it ended up being the reason mainly why Mark Trestman didn't come to the Bucs, even though he's the only one that's been successful with Josh McCown at the helm. And it probably would have actually been worth keeping Josh McCown to bring in Mark Trestman to have a better offense.
Come on. If you get like back-to-back years fired Chicago coaches, then we can pretty much just declare Tampa Bay the island of misfit toys. Like, you can't do that. I'm very sad for Mr. McCown because, you know, having been a little real and broken down earlier in the year and saying how sad he is that it's not working out. You want it to work out for him, but I'm sure the fans wanted him to throw more touchdowns, so whatever.
It's not like they're losing a whole lot there. It's just that they have a lot of work to do at so many positions on the team. It's not going to make a difference who their QB is at this point, because pretty much all their QBs are the same people. They're all the same type of quarterback. They're a dime a dozen with the level of play that they're getting at most of the positions that they've got. And it's a Lovie Smith run team. Good luck, Bucs fans. I'm telling you right now, you're going to love your life over the next few years.
Well, they could always fire him next year, so we will see.
Nick Fairley of the Detroit Lions, I guess he got away with DUI. He was allegedly driving under the influence. I guess we can't say that because he was never charged with it.
Well, he was charged. He was found not guilty.
Yeah, I guess he failed his field sobriety tests, but they never actually took a breathalyzer or whatever.
Right, and his girlfriend, I guess, said on the stand, well, no, the trooper's lying. He was never drinking. The open cup of booze in the car was mine. And I'm just like, but that's still open container. That doesn't make any sense. And they're like, oh, well, he hadn't had anything to drink in hours, but he still had something to drink, and he could have still been under the influence. And the whole story is kind of weird to me, but it just goes along with how Lions players are. They're all awful people. So, and
look, the entirety of Detroit has replaced its entire judiciary and police force with RoboCop or variants of RoboCop. So every now and then when it has to re-update iTunes and start over, something gets, through the system. So in this case, RoboCop had to go ahead and do that update so it can get into all that Taylor Swift we know and love, or maybe some Katy Perry Super Bowl halftime show. Fantastic. And Nick Fairley gets to go home free.
Oh, you're such a jerk. It's so great.
I'm going to need to take a break.
So guys, coming up this week is the Combine, and we don't cover college, so we're not talking about it. So let's talk about free agents.
Who's your top free agents at each position, or who you think matters?
Our list kind of differs from what the accepted fancy NFL list is, because I think number one, the most coveted QB in the free agency will be Matt Moore, just because he was a very good starter when he was a starter, and he hasn't really played at all in the last year. He's been sitting on the bench, so he's fresh.
Well, Matt Moore plays quarterback for the Dolphins. Somehow, though, we end up we kind of see him ending back in Miami. We kind of see him willing to take that backup role. Tannehill is good, but not great, and so there's always that chance that if things start going wrong, Matt Moore gets that starting job.
Well, not just that, but he could easily be picked up Now, we both think he'll go back to the Dolphins, but he could easily be picked up by a couple of these teams that are really in need of another option, and he has proven himself to be a very good other option in the past. So the other ones we have on here are Brian Hoyer, who we know is leaving the Browns. We don't know where he's going. My speculation is the Bills. I don't like to speculate, so I'll stop doing that. 3, we have Mark Sanchez, who is still with the Eagles, and Keil says he's going to leave.
I think he's going to leave. I think that Chip Kelly has made it fairly clear that he wants Marcus Mariota. Nobody thinks that he's going to get him because you'd have to trade way too far up, or Mariota's going to have to tank his pro day, or any number of things like it. And Mark Sanchez has had a rebound year, and I think he will go to the Bills and hook back up with Rex Ryan.
No, I doubt that. I don't think so. There's
I
no
know
way.
he won't, but I just wanted to irritate you.
Well, mission complete.
Good. Hey, also kind of tied for third, Matt Hasselbeck, currently a backup quarterback for the Colts. No way they're going to be bringing him back. They paid him $8 million over 2 years to be a mentor to Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck, I think he gets it. He might be good. We should probably look into it. I think Matt Hasselbeck
really?
will go elsewhere.
Really?
Ryan Mallett, we have no idea whether or not he's going to stay with the Texans.
Well, Ryan Mallett is dependent. It's draft dependent. He is either, if the Texans go after a QB in the draft, he is going to probably leave the Texans because they're going to probably go after whoever they want to start. If they don't go after QB in the draft, he's going to stay with the Texans because he's probably going to end up being their starter. So
Texans really don't seem to be too concerned with handling their quarterback situation. Not a whole lot of options in the draft. They're really just holding out hope for next year, I think. So let's talk running backs. Number one, obvious answer. Number one free agent running back, DeMarco Murray of the Cowboys. And Ron, I think it's safe to say we're in consensus that we think he's going to be gone.
And it's a money issue here. It's not a talent issue or a personality issue here. It's just strictly business. They don't have enough money in cap room to pay Tony Romo all the money they're paying him, to pay Dez Bryant what they're going to have to pay him, and to pay DeMarco Murray. They couldn't even franchise tag one of them and work out a deal with the other because both of them are going to require such a big deal that there's just not going to be enough cap room to do so. And I think in the end, it's going to be DeMarco Murray as the odd man out because with the offensive line they have, they can replace a running back. They couldn't replace somebody like Dez Bryant. So that's why I'm pretty sure he's going to move on to a different team. But I still stand by my point that he's going to be playing for a Super Bowl team next year.
It very well could. He's going to get good money. If he was to sign with the Cowboys, he would not be making even half of what he could make signing with another team. And we all know that the offensive line was dominant. That got him a good chunk of yards and whatever. Somebody will still pay for the production he had. Number two on our list, we have Ray Rice, who is a free agent released from the Ravens. So we can't really speculate where he's going. There have been rumors that he's looking to New York. I kind of hope he'll go to the Bills just because then it's like, hey, good job, Rex Ryan. You got 2 consecutive bad guy of the years in Richie Incognito and Ray Rice.
Yeah.
That's just my hope.
Yeah.
Number 3 on our list, we have...
Still think Richie Incognito's a badass name. Go on.
Number 3, we have Mark Ingram of the Saints. I don't think he's staying. Ron, I'm willing to bet you agree with me there.
Well, that's going to be another thing. His production picked up quite a bit this year, and their money situation in New Orleans is the worst in the NFL. They start the year, I think, way over cap, and they're just not going to be able to afford to keep him at all, no matter how small of a contract he really brings to the table. And so he's not going to bring anything. He's not going to bring some kind of veteran minimum contract. He's going to want his money, and he's going to go somewhere else. He'll be fine somewhere else. They just can't keep him. They can't keep anybody.
True enough. I think at the very least, he could go somewhere on a moderate 1-year prove-it deal to prove that his production has not been a fluke. If he thinks he can get top guy money, he's not getting it as of now, but 1-year prove-it deal is definitely an option for that guy.
Yeah, and number 4, we have Justin Forsett. That's one of my favorites. He plays for the Ravens. I think he'll stay with the Ravens. They already said that they're making a very valiant effort to make sure that he stays there. And number 5, Kyle, is Ahmad Bradshaw.
Yeah, I kind of think that he'll stay with the Colts, but it's a little conditional. He was just arrested in Ohio, pulled over, and he was pulled over for following too closely, which is the nerdiest, dumbest kind of traffic violation to actually get pulled over for. And
to be fair, the cause of most traffic accidents is due to people following too closely.
Thanks, Woodsy Owl. Anyway, he went ahead and he followed too close.
I don't get the reference, but making fun of me doesn't make it any less true. Go on.
Slap.
I don't know. I
Be
had
mad
that
all
one
you
on
want.
deck.
That
Man,
doesn't make me mad that
He
you're
pulled
mad.
off that glove and just beat the crap out of your face with it.
Yeah, he did. That was not a good thing. But you know what? Tom Brady. Anyway, the Colts have an issue right now with discipline. Too many other people are getting arrested, starting to look like a huge, huge issue. Whether or not he did it is not the issue. I think the Colts are going to bring him back for a year, especially because now that he has this arrest, they can kind of get by with not offering him a lot of money. And he has said that he enjoys playing in Indy and he likes the environment. So good for him. Just as Justin Forsett, he has said that Baltimore is home. That guy is not going anywhere.
Wide receivers, we have Des Bryant. He's going to be probably franchise tagged by the Cowboys until they get a deal done, so there's no surprise there, and I don't really think he's going to hit any kind of a market. Number 2, we have Demaryius Thomas. He's going to probably stay with the Broncos. I think a lot of that has to deal with, who's coming back to the Broncos and who's not, or if they're going to pay him a lot of money, because if Peyton doesn't come back, they do cut him, and they are able to save all that cap money, then they have a lot more money to pay him. So that's all dependent. I think he'll stay whether or not Peyton comes back, because he's either going to get the money or he's going to get another shot at a Super Bowl. And
he'll stay.
And then number 3, we have Randall Cobb with the Packers. He's going to stay there. No one leaves Aaron Rodgers ever, ever, ever. It doesn't happen ever. So number 4, we have Jeremy Maclin with the Eagles.
You made that creepy.
It was meant to be. Number 4, we have Jeremy Maclin. He's probably going to stay with the Eagles. I would assume that he would. There's a chance he could leave. I would think that he'd stay there because he has to be worried that his production is going to drop off, kind of like Deshaun Jackson's did when he left for Washington.
I mean, for most wide receivers, you go somewhere else, your production is going to just fall off the face of the earth. Not everybody gets the deal going from Pittsburgh to Peyton Manning. That's going from good to good. That doesn't happen very often.
Right.
And rounding out the top 5, and this is kind of generous in my mind, is Torrey Smith of the Ravens. I just have not seen enough of him this year or even last year to think that the Ravens want him to stick around. I think they'll let him walk because he has been kind of filling that number 1 spot. He is not a true number 1. I kind of think they even go wide receiver in the draft. If they bring him back, it is not going to be a respectable contract, and he is going to be a number 2 or number 3.
Going on to tight ends, Julius Thomas, he's probably going to stay with the Broncos. It would just make the most sense. He can make a lot more money there than he could anywhere else. Same thing with Jordan Cameron. I think he stays with the Browns specifically because he's going to make the most money with them because they're the ones that got him to where he is. And I think his injury concern is the biggest issue with other teams. And I just don't think anybody wants to touch anybody from the Browns, to be honest.
And I also think, to add to that, he's a bit of a fan favorite. And so for that franchise, they need things to keep butts in the seats. They need to keep the fans happy. So you can't let him just up and walk away. You got to pay him a little bit more than he's worth as a result.
Number 3, we got Niles Paul. There, he's with the Redskins. I think he's going to leave. They have a lot of other options there at tight end. I think he's just going to be the odd man out, honestly, and he'll go somewhere else. He'll be really good there. Number 4, Jermaine Gresham. I think he's going to leave the Bengals. I just don't think that they're going to bring him. As long as Tyler Eifert is healthy, I think that he's going to be the odd man out there. He can't stay healthy either, so it's not worth having a veteran around and paying him that veteran minimum, which is much higher now, and keeping him on. So, and number 5, we have Charles Clay with the Dolphins. Big time fan favorite, big time producer. That guy's going to stay in Miami.
He is quickly becoming a favorite target of Tannehill. he could go elsewhere and believe that he will have great production, but he's already got it, and he needs to stay in that party town.
Yeah, moving on to what they classify as edge defenders or outside blitzing linebackers, defensive ends. We have Justin Houston with the Chiefs, and he's going to be franchise tag. There's no mystery there. That they've already said that that's what they're going to do if they can't get the contract thing worked out in time. Next we have...
And they know it because there are a lot of teams, that would give him a big money contract. The Colts haven't necessarily said as much, but he would fit their scheme, and they got quite a bunch of cap room.
22 sacks last year. He had 22 sacks last year.
He is a monster. He is very good.
Number 2, we have Jerry Hughes for the Bills. He is a drama queen of sorts, but he produces. So
he can produce. He can. In the right scheme.
But I don't think he's going to be with the Bills. I don't think that that's the scheme for him. I think he'll probably go somewhere. Jim Schwartz decides to get hired on somewhere, then he'll probably go to wherever he's at because that's where he's had the biggest success. Number 3,
I think his production will drop off though because the Bills had a ridiculously talented defense, not just in terms of players, but also in terms of coaching. And that, you still got to do the work, but his job is maybe a little bit easier there. And I think that he'll kind of drop off as soon as he gets to a new team.
Number 3, we have Jason Pierre-Paul. He's going to stay with the Giants. Tom Coughlin loves him. It's a respect thing at that point. He'll stay there and hang on there. Probably end his career there. Number 4, we have Greg Hardy. We've already said he's probably not going to stay with the Panthers. He costs too much money, and he's a jackass. So number 5, we have Brian Arakpo. Probably going to stay with the Redskins. He's going to give him a hometown discount. He's going to stay there. He's also a fan favorite there, and he's a big priority for them, so he'll stay there.
Every time I look at his name, I can't help but think of okra. How delicious it can be.
That's such a what?
I just want to say we're halfway through the top free agents. Like, this is the official halfway mark, and I've contributed nothing except laughing at Kyle and talking smack to him. So I just want you guys to imagine that whenever talk gets like this, where I've got nothing to contribute, that I'm sitting here and imagine everyone that's actually listening to this. I just imagine me sitting here coloring. You guys are all actually talking real football instead of just the joke stuff that I like to contribute. So I'm over here, I'm filling the lines, got my Power Ranger coloring book and my 64 Crayolas. So just everyone, whenever you're zoning out, or if you're in the car with someone who listens to this podcast, just imagine yourself here with me. And I'll color the Green Ranger. You get Gordon. All right, go.
Ron, can't we get him a coloring book and then post the colored pages onto the website?
Oh, next show I will make sure that this happens.
That's the best.
There are going to be so many people confused by that.
We have Ndamukong Suh for the Lions. He's probably going to stay there. At least I suspect he'll stay there. I think that they're going to forego keeping Calvin Johnson to keep Ndamukong Suh. And
you're hoping.
Either way, whether they keep one or the other, I'm not happy about it as a Bears fan. So, it doesn't matter. But
it does. Suh is the most talented person at his position in this free agent class. It is important to remember he is a 4-3 defensive tackle. So a lot of the 3-4 teams would be a bit hesitant. He's not going to be able to fill that nose tackle role with the same level of success that he has in a 4-3, and that's fine. More than anything, he's probably just testing the waters to make the Lions nervous and hedging his bets. He wants to know how much he can make. He thinks he's worth $22 million a year. That's kind of nuts. The
way he's played and the numbers he produces, it's worth every penny that he wants, honestly. And somebody's going to pay him the money. It's going to happen. Somebody will pay him that money. There is a team out there that is going to pay him that much money, and you can say
what?
that
Let's go Raiders.
Yeah, it's going to be the Raiders or Redskins will pay him that money. It will happen. And number 2,
I would like to see it be the Raiders. That would be good. Quarterback and having a big mean guy and fill that nasty streak that the Raiders love. That'd be perfect. Let's make it happen, Oakland.
Number 2, we have Dan Williams for the Cardinals. He's going to stay there. A lot of people don't really know the name. He's really good nose tackle. He'll be there. Number 3, Stephen Paya for the Bears. He's going to go. I think they have 2 rookies that they had from from the previous couple of years that they're really starting to work in there. He was hurt a lot last year, so those guys had already filled in for him. They did.
How do you pronounce his name again?
Stephen Paya.
Oh, I read it as Paella at first, and I'm like, that can't be right.
Dude, are you hungry? Okrapo and then paella. Like, what's going on, man?
He is
I
hungry.
don't know. I am not hungry, actually.
Number 4, we have Henry Melton. Cowboys have already decided to decline his option.
Isn't like melty cheese?
Well,
I'll go back to coloring. I'm sorry.
the Cowboys have already declined his option, so he's not going to be there. Number 5, we have B.J. Raji for the Packers. Now, at first, when the offseason first started, I would have said they're not going to keep him. He can't stay healthy, but now they're going to have to because LaTroy Guion, or however it is you pronounce it, who cares, got himself arrested and is going to be in jail for having so much pot and money that it was seeping from his pores when they were doing his field sobriety test. So that's it for defensive linemen. Kyle, would you like to lead us into inside linebackers?
Absolutely. Let's go first with Brandon Spikes for the Bills. More than likely, he will be staying. Give a chance to Rex Ryan and that defense he brings with him, which leads well into David Harris of the Jets, who we believe is going to leave to go to the Bills, assuming everything works out cap-wise. Next on the list, we have Mason Foster of the Buccaneers. He's probably going to be staying. Maybe I don't know.
It's a cap issue. If they're willing to pay him the money, then he'll stay there. If not, it's really just going to come down to the money. And we all know Lovie Smith likes to spend more on defense than he does on offense. So I would assume he'll stay there. That is just my prediction.
Next up, we have Rolando McClain of the Cowboys, and Ron is a little more sold on him staying than I am. He had his home burned down, and it was only like yesterday revealed from the fire department that they believe it is arson.
Well, they think it was arson and it's fraud. They think he burned his own home down because he was seen fleeing from the scene in a vehicle, and it
turns out that's illegal.
Yeah.
So he might go to jail, which is one of the options for when you do an illegal thing.
Right.
So sometimes there's probation, but probably jail. Yeah. If not, he'll probably stick around with the Cowboys. So he will possibly be signed depending on the outcome of this whole nastiness. And the last guy, Ray Malaluga of the Bengals, and I think they go because the guy who does the Bengals radio is tired of pronouncing his name, and he just doesn't want to deal with it anymore, so the team's not going to float him an offer.
Outside linebackers, we have Sean Witherspoon for the Falcons. He's going to go. The only reason they're going to do that is because they're not going to be able to afford to keep him, and he's another one that can't stay healthy or hasn't stayed healthy with them, and their patience has worn thin there with that. Malcolm Smith for the Seahawks, he'll stay. There's no way that he's going to leave the Seahawks. He's going to want to try and get that ring. Justin Durant for the Cowboys, he's going to stay. Jonathan Casillas for the Patriots, he'll stay. They just won a Super Bowl. He's not going anywhere. Bruce Carter for the Cowboys, he'll stay because they have injury problems at linebacker, and Bruce Carter has played very well in the absence of the starters. So, cornerbacks. Byron Maxwell, number 1 for the Seahawks. He's going to stay there. Anybody that plays for Seahawks, the Patriots, I would say, are going to stay there unless they're offered just an absolutely exorbitant amount of money. And so,
well, there is the one caveat to that, which not quite a free agent, but the guy who would be the number 1 corner, and I don't know how I did it. I just blanked on his name. Darrelle Revis. Wow,
that was called hitting a pothole.
That was a stroke in real time. Check my pulse. Fine. Moving on. Yeah. So Revis's cap hit would be something insane. What was it, like 25 million? 20 million? So somewhere in the realm of how can you even be serious for the Patriots if they choose to pick him up. Now, he could sign a long-term contract and have that be smoothed over. He's already said that he wouldn't mind going back to the Jets. He liked playing in New York, which is a weird thing to say, but he won a Super Bowl, so whatever. He could be gone because Bill Belichick will not want to pay him that kind of money. But if they do want to pay him that kind of money, pretty much everybody on the Patriots who've said, yeah, they're staying, they're going, because you can't pay like $20 million to a corner and expect it all to work out.
Brandon Flowers at number 2. He was going to stay with the Chargers. He was a really good fit there. Loved sticking it to his old team for the Chiefs, and so that's where he'll stick. Tramon Williams for the Packers. He'll stay there. He isn't good enough to me to demand a lot of big money. Number 4, we have Antonio Cromartie for the Cardinals. I think he'll go. He was also kind of banged up this year. He played well when he played, but the next man up philosophy just works too well for the Cardinals, so I think he'll go. Number 5, we have Devon House for the Packers. He's going to go. He showed a lot of really good skill this year for the Packers in relief of other defensive backs. He played all over the field, had himself 5 interceptions. It was a great season for him. He's going to go find his money is what he's going to do. And on to safeties.
Number 1, we've got Devin McCourty of the Patriots, and he is just far too good for them to let him walk. Number 2, Raheem Moore of the Broncos. Yeah, he's staying. They
said that he's a priority.
As it should be. I mean, safety is finally kind of coming into its own as like a leader of the secondary. I mean, at least in terms of money and the importance given. I think for a long time when the running game was king, safeties were kind of an afterthought, and now they're really much more valuable. And Raheem Moore has made a huge impact on the Broncos. Is it Louis or Lewis?
Louis Delmas.
God bless you.
Yeah, he will probably not be re-signing with the Dolphins. He will be testing the free agent waters, in our opinion. Steve Brown of the Giants is our number 4. We kind of see him staying put.
Well, he's another Coughlin. He's another Coughlin favorite, so he'll stick there, I think.
And finally, Nate Allen of the Eagles, who more than likely will stay.
Yes, and that is all I have for this show. Is there what else should we talk about?
Punters and kickers. Special teams matter.
No, we're not talking about any of those. No one cares about them.
Fine. They don't matter that much.
The only thing that's going to make it fun to watch punters and kickers next year is to see how much the kickers whine about the new goalposts and how much the punters whine about the rule change on contact with the punter. Did you see that?
No.
So the rules may be changing on the whole running into the punter versus roughing the kicker, or roughing the punter, or whatever the rule is. There will just be 15-yard penalties only. There will be no more of the 5 running into the kicker or anything. It'll just be straight up 15-yard penalties, which is funny to me because they added the 5-yard penalty earlier, or at least a couple years ago, because they were having a hard time making the determination. So now I guess they said no, we're going to try and simplify the rule book, which to me just means it's going to be way more complicated.
Generally, yeah, but that's what you get in my mind for, flopping as often as you do. A lot of punters don't flop. They just look kind of confused, or when they do flop, they sell it so hard to where it's obvious that they're faking. But way too often, you just get tapped and you bowl over like you're an Italian soccer player. You can't do that.
You know who doesn't flop?
No, I actually don't.
Are you going to wait for us to say who?
Oh, yeah, I guess you guys were not on board with that. Okay,
I like how I can already hear in your voice the excitement, and I'm prepared for the letdown. It's like in Little League when you move in because Jimmy's up to bat and he can't hit.
Oh, I was going to say Pat McAfee.
Kyle,
I've seen him flop a couple times.
He doesn't flop.
He's the guy who I'm talking about. He overdoes it so much to where he'll be like rolling around and doing somersaults to where it's like, is he flopping? Is he tumbling? Is this an exercise routine? What are we looking at?
Well, that's actually going to wrap us up, everybody. You're welcome for all of that. This has been one fun train wreck. We're glad that you were able to join this, and we hope Bruce Willis is here to save you.
This was kind of a fun show, yeah.
There was a little bit too much in the way of facts and information.
Yeah, see, this is what happens when we try to
the-
cram a whole bunch of news and information into one podcast. See, this is what I'm
Well,
talking
stop
about.
letting me do that.
Kyle's just like, you know what? We need
Oh,
to
yeah,
talk
Kyle,
about
it's
this.
that easy.
We need to talk about this, and we need to talk about this. And I'm like, no, because now we're not going to have anything when it comes to the end of the offseason. We're just going to be sitting there with our fists in our butt, just trying to figure out what to talk about. And all you're going to hear is
You know,
our
that's
whimpering.
not a normal thing to do when you don't know what to talk about.
Is that what you do? I usually just color.
I mean, you know, we have smartphones. I just got you a smartphone. I was kind of hoping to see some use out of that and keep your wrist free from stink, but you know, maybe next year. You know what I love is that Cindy has to listen to that and just go, God damn it, you guys. Just why?
She questions her life
Just
choices
imagine
often.
her holding her huge baby and just listen to us and go, just these jerks. Not only does she have to listen to the whole show, but she's doing this while she has this house of a baby that she has to take care of.
Jeez.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
she's like, oh, I'll put these guys on the speakers and crank it because I got to change Junior's diaper, and she's doing that, and then we lay down something stupid that is not gonna fly, and she's gonna sit here and look at this SE diaper and hear us at the same time, and she goes, all right, one of these has to go.
Oh, man.
That is why we bring Mike in, right there.
Even when I screw up and unplug my headphones. Did you hear that? Did you hear how much that sucked? That was a really nice thing that I would like to make to the show. You said this is why we have Mike here, and that's right when I unplugged my headphones and screwed everything up. That was fate.
All right, well, let me get through this stuff, guys. Thanks to Nick Wright, our
Thank you.
producer. We appreciate everything you do. sound-right.com, WRIGHT. Go to our website. He has a banner up there now, and you can see there, click on his stuff, and make him your producer. That is what he's there for. Thank you to Cindy, and I'm sorry, Cindy, for all of the horrible things that is said about you by Mike, and we do appreciate you, and we hope that you are doing
No,
well.
that was empathy. I wasn't saying ha ha her misfortune. I'm saying that sucks. Like I feel for her.
And I don't think
I
that
got your
giant
back, Cindy.
baby was incorrect either. I mean, I would say that's more accurate than anything. 11
Well-
pounds is a giant baby.
It's a huge baby.
Ugh.
She's gonna look at you and say like, yeah, this isn't by no stretch of the imagination a little baby.
That's
Are
like
you
one of
doing the
those when
thing
you're
where-
getting wheelchaired out to your car, you take the wheelchair home with you and the hospital doesn't even charge you. They're like, you know what? Yeah, we're good with this.
Thank you, of course, to our military and our veterans. We appreciate everything you do or have done for us. We love you. We hope you all come home safe and you are able to have some form of Valentine's Day, even if you are far away and abroad, protecting our country in any way, shape, or form. Lastly, thank you to our listeners. We do appreciate you as well. Click on those links. Go there to the Amazon search box. Buy stuff through there. That helps us out a lot. We want to try and get back to you. And that's all I have. Do you guys have anything else?
Go to the webpage. Ron
Yes.
actually got us a webpage, FBIApodcast.com, the centralized hub of glory, as it was. And Ron spent a lot of time on that. So go on there and tell him all the ways it's wrong. So that way all of his effort can be minimalized. And also, hey, tell us who you want us to try and get for interviews. We've got a couple of fun ideas. We're going to try our hardest to get people on. Don't know what we will and will not be able to do. We will see. And also, we are going to be opening up our lines to the fans. Ron, are you going to add something after the fact, or?
Well, we're still working on that whole scenario. I'm trying to figure out how exactly we're going to do that in just a technical standpoint. Like the whole thing is great. I would love to have fans on the show, but just the application of that with the equipment that we have is minimal. So we will do everything we can, but I can make no promises. Currently, what I have is I do have a fan of the Bucks that does want to talk to us. So I told him we would set up a way for him to do so, and we will get that done for next week's show, actually.
All right, so no, I got nothing else left. Somebody do me a favor and prove if @Tom Brady is really Tom Brady, and if it is him, lie to me and say that it's not.
All right. Well, that's it, guys. You guys have a good night.
All right, guys.
Good night, everyone.
Help support the show by going to the Amazon.com search bar on the top of the FBI podcast webpage when doing all of your online shopping. From movies to groceries, Amazon has everything. Go to the website and use our show's search box to help send 10% of your purchase to the show. No extra cost to you, just support. The search box will take you right to the Amazon webpage. That's ronkeilpodcast.libsyn.com and look for the search bar at the top of the page. RONKEIL podcast.libsyn.com. GetWineOnline.com. Get the best bottles online for any occasion. Get 20% off when you click the banner at the top of the FBI podcast website. Everything from big case orders to single bottles of Merlot or Chardonnay. That's ronkeilpodcast.libsyn.com. RONKEIL podcast.libsyn.com.